Welcome back to another episode of NextGen's video series. We're here with Bill Blair. We're going to talk a little bit about his building company, some of the things that he's seen in the industry, and advice that he has for the next group of us growing up in the industry as well. Thank you so much, Wichita, for tuning in. And Bill, thank you so much for being here.
You bet.
So tell us a little bit about how you got started in this industry.
Oh, it goes way back. I grew up on a ranch, and our father taught us really how to do a lot of work. Did a lot of construction on the side, horseback a lot, and it was God-given. I kind of look at it as we're all given talents, but we don't know which direction we're going to run in life. I was working calves one day, and it was right out of college. Don Scouten asked me what I'm going to do this summer, and I said, work cattle, I guess. And he goes, you want to go with me and frame houses? I said, sure. What do I need? He goes, I got the tools, just come with me. It's interesting. The doors kept opening. Mm-hmm. So I went framing houses for a framing crew, didn't know anything. And it just came to me. And I was no brag as fact, it just interested me so much, I wanted to learn more. And so when I was framing, I wanted to be the foreman. And I kept asking, instead of me carrying boards and nailing boards together, I want to be able to cut stairs and roofs and stuff, and my peers just kept teaching me. So I did that for quite a while, and then ended up being a foreman for the framing crew, and then I reached my plateau there. So I thought, I'm just going to maybe have my own framing company. So we started that, and we landed a couple of good jobs and grew the framing company, ended up having 2 or 3 crews. Yep. And I reached my plateau there, and from being around all the industry, from framing, I'd go home at night and we'd roof houses after work. I went and worked on a basement crew for the same framing crew, so I poured basements. If we ran out of the framing to do, we would side the houses, and for extra work, we'd even go trim houses. So I got my hands on a lot of things, and what I really enjoyed was putting structures together. And it gave me a lot of peace on just, instead of going to day-to-day jobs every day, the same job, we got to drive around and look at the stuff we've been doing. Yeah. So after that, I decided to become a building contractor, and I got my license in '83. Blair Construction has really tried to earmark ourselves as branding as a custom builder. So we are diversified in ICF building, timber frame building, log cabin building, of course traditional building. We're not really labeled on any certain design. We like all kinds of designs. And so we just kind of climbed ropes like that, and the satisfaction again is it gives us peace seeing something we've done.
Yeah. You briefly talked about the ICF. If you can dive a little bit more into that.
Sure.
I know there's some newer ways of the technology of building a home, and you're very invested in that, and I'm sure a lot
Absolutely.
of people would love to understand
the
that.
ICF building, insulated concrete form. They're tornado resistant homes. You can engineer them for whatever strength you want. So if you want to engineer them for an F5 tornado, so be it, on the walls, and then we'd have to, of course, put the lid on it. But they're termite proof, sound deadening, a minimum of 33% energy more efficient, plus the structure. Mm-hmm. And so, we do the normal tornado strapping and things like that, but I would say probably 30% of our buildings ICF.
Oh man.
Yeah, so I think it's the way to go. We build more ICF homes for people in the building industry. And a lot of the people for their forever home, they're doing that too. It's cost efficient for the long run.
And what would you say your guys' kind of difference between a different builder? What is your stamp that you put on your homes, the things that you take pride in?
It goes way back too. That's a loaded question. The nuts and bolts of a house nobody sees. Mm-hmm. It can be anything from something, just the aspect of how you structure the driveway. Like our minimum's 5 inches thick with rebar. Mm-hmm. Standard's 4 inch with wire mesh. Yep.
Uh,
I'm fine with 4 inch and wire mesh, but if you're going to do a longer long-term driveway, so be it. We put supports for driveways at the foundation instead of pinning them. The structure's a big deal to us, okay? We're really big on insulation. We try to size everything accordingly, and we give our clients options if they want to upgrade for the long run without going overboard. Okay. We do ground source heat pumps. We do such thing as pump and dump water source heat pumps. We do a lot of spray and insulation, walls and ceiling. If we don't do ICF, it's insulated forms, so we will even option out the insulation for the ceiling, stuff like that. Every builder has their own way of doing things, but we like to be the doctor on the job.
Yep.
So I have, my son Gage is a builder too, and I'm a builder, so when you come to Blair Construction, you get one of the builders. Mm-hmm. We don't, and we have had superintendents, nothing wrong with that, it's great. But we like to figure our own jobs and do our own custom work. So I guess best way I can explain it is you get to see the doctor.
Yeah.
We strive on being different. We want to build very different stuff.
Yeah.
And if it's a very basic house, we want that too. So we think anybody's pocketbook's the same. Mm-hmm. And no matter what they're buying, it's a major amount of money.
Yep.
So we don't want to just build luxury homes. We want to build anybody's home. Mm-hmm. So that, you can get labeled different ways like that. But basically, I guess, like, in a nutshell, is traditional framing's great, modern mountain design's great. That's great. That's one of my favorites. If you want to do a Tuscan, that's great. We like all different designs. We like log cabins. We like timber frame, ICF. So I don't know I guess that's the best way I can say we're diversified.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk a little bit about your son being a builder as well.
Right.
How have you seen with that next generation and kind of instilling the knowledge that you have and also fostering that relationship and his excitement for the building as well?
Oh, man. If I had the education and technology that guy has, he speeds everything up so much. Mm-hmm. It's like rocket fast. He's always going, with me, I'm old school. It's like, that's a whole nother show. If anybody doesn't know what to do, just get in construction. There's logistics, there's sales, there's owning your own business. You may see a trade, you just comes, like framing came to me, yep. And I go back to God-given. We get our talents, and you don't know what those talents are. But my doors just kept opening, and it did come to me easy. Doesn't mean I'm smart. It's because I understood it. Yeah. And as far as my son and doing it, he just speeds up the process so much. Speeds it up. He'll look at how I figure a home, and he has his technology way to figure his home. But it does come down to communication, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You got to have that.
So you briefly talk about kind of the difference in the way you do stuff, the way your son does stuff. What have you seen in that time that you've been a builder? Kind of some of the differences, some of the big ones. I know there's a ton.
From staking out a basement to using satellite. Mm-hmm. There's one. It's like that.
Yep.
No strings, no batter boards. No, that's just a start. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to the tools, for crying out loud, you can't keep up with all the tools. Everything's battery operated. Mm-hmm. Everything. When I framed, we thought, we could work in the rain. No, we couldn't.
Yeah.
But now they can just, no excuses.
Yeah.
So just little things like that. And of course, the blueprinting is another thing. It's just everything's just faster.
Yeah.
Faster. Yeah.
Would you see that you've seen a change in not only the technology, but customers as well, from when you started versus how customers may perceive things, understand kind of the building as a whole?
What I've seen in customers is Google.
Yep.
There's so much thrown at us. It's like a resource. You can go anywhere and just look. Everything's online. They find this, they find that. Again, that speed. I think the slowness of construction is there's not enough help.
Yeah. And what would you say, just speaking to that help that's needed? What would you have for advice of the next generation trying to get into it?
I'm around a lot of young guys and stuff and at work and everything, and I'll see those guys off the clock as far as not even in construction, what they don't know what to do. I'll just say, hey, go work for this foundation company. And what you're going to get is a paycheck. You're going to get some insurance. You're going to get probably some type of retirement.
Yep.
And if you show up, you're going to get a raise. And if you don't like it, at least you got your foot in the door.
Yep.
And you can use that to climb the rope somewhere else. But it's nuts on how many people are not out there. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest drawback.
Yeah, trying to figure out how to get the next generation involved, get them wanting to be a part of the industry.
Yeah, my whole point was, like I said earlier, construction will just open doors for, I mean, not just construction, but the industry of construction is, when won't you need it?
Yeah.
I mean, it goes to everything.
Mm-hmm.
So they just need to get the foot in the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, something about construction too, you really don't have to have an education.
Mm-hmm.
If in a trade education's perfect, even if you don't, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Just long as you have heart.
Mm-hmm. You want to be there.
Right.
So how would you say that you've been a part of WABA? How would you say that's changed over the course, and what benefits you get from WABA?
Well, first of all, I think a WABA is a security blanket. Mm-hmm. Seriously, I do. It's kind of like grandma and grandpa, mom and dad. It's like you got them to fall back on. If there's an issue, WABAs will back it, and that's for anybody, okay? I think if a client of some sort has any questions on who's there, I think WABA can answer that for them. Mm-hmm. If anybody has arguments within the industry of any sort, WABA's there to help out however. WABA's grown tremendous.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I used to be way more involved with WABA, but I still rely on them. Mm-hmm. So it's fantastic. It's not just like a clout or, you know, make sure you join WABA, you're in the clique, like you're going to get work. I don't think of it like that, but I think subcontractor suppliers could benefit from it. So I think there's a lot of building contractors like myself. If I'm looking for somebody, I can go to WABA for a tile setter, or somebody's going to sell mirrors and glass, or roofing contractors, anything like that.
And I would say not only that security blanket on the front end, but I would say the back end. I mean, WABA's constantly fighting to make sure that the right bills get passed. They're working with not only the local community, but the state community and the national community as a whole.
Great point.
I mean, I think that is a huge one for even those ones who aren't going to meetings as much, but just knowing that they have this whole entity making sure that what we're doing continues to be done.
Absolutely. Keeping it strong for the whole community.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that is one of the biggest things that I've learned from starting WABA to being a part of WABA now is there's so much that we're not seeing. There's so much that they're actively doing to make sure that our communities try to sell at a relatively inexpensive market. They don't want to see our houses drive up in price just because all this stuff is going on. They want to make sure the bills are past that not only help the builder but help the customer as well. I think it's a huge thing that WABA is providing that a lot of people aren't even understanding.
Yeah, it's even very well said. Keep the production going in every aspect, the consumer to the supplier.
Yeah, absolutely. And what would you say, we talked about the next generation a little bit. What advice would you give for them trying to get a part of it? Say they have building is what they want to do is their dream. Where would you tell them to start? What advice would you give them? What are some of the things that you wished you knew when you started?
Well, if they want to go to school, first of all, I would say, you know, it's some sort of construction science, construction management. They'll soar with that. And if that's not what they want to do, it'd be good if they got some type of trade. Say I went to work for a heat and air company when I first started. Mm-hmm. Okay, I got in there, and maybe that didn't come to me very well, but I'd see these guys over there framing, or see these guys trimming. You just see so much. Mm-hmm. Tile setting. I mean, it all sounds a little foreign, but you know, you become a tile setter, you can become a tile producer, or retail sales, or salesman, or just paint. You can get into painting. You can be reps for them. The door just opens. Just get your foot in the door and don't be afraid.
Absolutely.
And get yoked with the right people.
Mm-hmm. Surround yourself with the right ones.
When those red flags start popping, something's up.
Yep.
Just those doors open, just keep going forward. That's what I think.
Yeah. And I think WABA is a great avenue to figure out which ones are the right ones to be a part of.
They're there to back you. Yep. And I would for sure get in that association.
Yep.
Especially anybody just starting in the industry, that's the first place I'd go to, for sure. I'm a cowboy.
Yeah.
And then Don says, hey, you want to go frame? And I go, sure. And I did it, and I thought, gosh, one thing that's going to keep me in shape, hard work.
Yeah.
And so I got to doing it, and I got to, framing it, and it'll just come to you if you're interested in it.
You put the passion into it.
Yeah. And then you start seeing that stuff, what you're doing, and then it came to me, and the only reason I think it came to me because I love seeing something I did. It's like, I don't know, what's the best way to say this? You go mow the yard when it's really tall and you weed eat it and you look at it like, whoa, I did that, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with building a house.
Yeah, it's fun driving around and seeing the projects you get to be a part of.
Yeah.
Get to see what you did come to life.
But I get excited about the construction. But again, I see guys and people just not working and don't know what they want to do. And seriously, if they want to make any money at all, they'll have a steady job with construction, and then they can just spread out.
One last question I kind of have is you've been part of 2008 and we saw the recession there. We've had little talks of recession that are kind of happening right now. What would you say for those who are trying to stay the course? What have you seen in the differences in some of those? And
what I think is I see now since then. Well, number one, the recession humbled me. 2008 and 2009 was like some of our busiest years, and we're so busy we didn't really feel the recession for 2011.
Yeah.
It's kind of like building your first spec house and it doesn't sell. And my first spec house, when I first put it up, a realtor told me the worst thing that ever happened to you is you sell that and make money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, I'm serious. And I did not sell it, and I did not make any money, and I had to write check for money. And he was right. It made me aware how fast things can happen.
Yeah.
So it tightened my pocketbook. So the recession did that again for me. And what I've seen since then, the big one was work started picking up, and Blair Construction held back on specs and stuff. We're like, we're going to let this, we'll see what happens for a while. And we were very fortunate to have custom homes going. And another thing we build a lot of in the country. We build the barns and the roads and all that stuff. And we stay relatively busy with that. So we hung back for a while, and we were busy with the custom homes. And as the years went by there, it really picked up. So like COVID was 2020. 2019, it was pretty slow still, and we were bidding a lot, and things just weren't signing. It just broke loose in 20, and then here comes we didn't have all the supplies and all that. And we had contracts that were held that now we're going back and we're signing those. That far back. I'm talking 4 years.
Yeah.
Prices have risen. And I think a lot of people hinge on framing material, prices are high. Well, I'm not off too far, maybe 8% of the job, if that, is the framing. And so framing's dove. I mean, we don't even talk about that, do we? But all the other prices came up from that. They're still staying up here, so the prices are pretty high. And every year it raises, of course, at X amount of percentages. And I can't put my finger on why certain things haven't came down, but the framing has. I don't see the roofing hadn't come down. It could be supply and demand. There's a lot. I think we talked to a lumber yard, they could explain it better, but I think a lot of companies that make things had shut down. So that means availability wasn't there, and now there's not as many suppliers. So I think that goes in hand, but I think it always appreciates. I think new's better.
Where do you see it from here on out? Where do you see it in 5 to 10 years? I mean, do you see the industry bouncing back a little bit from it? I know we've had a little bit of a slowdown on building, at least for certain price points.
I don't see it slowing down. Personally, it is. You know, things hinge on interest rates. who's in office, all this kind of thing, the anything. Who's ever, what town's resources, I mean, that can fluctuate. Cattle markets, one thing, seriously, everything drives that, but everybody's got to eat and everybody's got to live.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Bill. This has been a pleasure talking to you, and I feel like not only myself but the viewers as well have learned a lot about not only our industry but just some of the things with building as well. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much, Wichita, for tuning in. If you have any questions at all, if you're interested in being in the seat, if you want to be a part of what we're doing here, reach out to myself, reach out to Tyler, reach out to WABA in general. Thank you so much, Wichita, and until next time, we'll see you.